Today's book is the first novel I read about Africa, and it has stayed with me through the years. This raw, emotionally charged first person account of a Nigerian teenager's life is one of my favorite and most realistic pieces of fiction writing that I have ever read. The Purple Hibiscus is a coming of age novel written by Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Please keep watching till the end to also know about a short, extremely interesting bonus read from the same author. Let's switch on the reading lamp. Hello, I'm Asavri, and on this channel, I review books and talk about reading in general. Shall we have a look at the details of today's book?
Facts and figures.
The Purple Hibiscus is a fiction novel written by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. It was first published in 2004 by Fourth Estate. The book is 336 pages long and available in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle editions. It's also available as an audiobook on Audible. The audiobook is very well narrated and definitely worth listening to. Now let's talk about the actual contents of the book, the first book. But as you know, no spoilers, no worry. Just
the cover story.
15-year-old Kambili Achike lives in Enugu, Nigeria, with her 17-year-old brother Jaja and their parents Papa Eugene and Mama Beatrice. Eugene Achike, referred throughout the novel as Papa, is a wealthy, well-known industrialist and philanthropist and a champion of human rights. They live in luxury in a huge mansion inside a walled compound. They travel to school in a chauffeur-driven car. But things are not how they seem on the surface. Mama and the children live in fear of displeasing Papa. The children are punished for not coming first in their class at school. Even his silence is tyrannical. The chauffeur Kevin spies on the family and reports back to Papa. Papa controls every aspect of their life. He's also a devout Christian and fanatic about religion. He uses religion as a tool of oppression. He is so fanatic that he refuses to allow the children to have contact with their grandfather, his own father, Papa Ennukubu, because he refused to convert to Christianity and follows his traditional Igbo religion. Papa also does not approve of his sister Ifeoma's lifestyle. Ifeoma is a well-educated, free-thinking, independent woman. Meanwhile, outside their little bubble of affluence, it is a time of extreme political turmoil within the country, and Papa is a newspaper publisher. When a military coup overthrows the current government, Papa's newspaper opposes the coup, and the editor is thrown into prison. For the safety of the children, Papa reluctantly allows Aunt Ifeoma to take the children to stay with her in Nsukka. At Aunt Ifeoma's house, the children are confronted with a life entirely different from their own. She lives in a tiny flat. There are frequent power outages and water shortage. The roads are full of potholes and fuel is scarce. The meals are simple and the prayers are short. And everyone talks and laughs all the time. They sing songs and play games. For the first time, Kambili and Jaja experience a home life where there are no luxuries, but the days are full of laughter and joy. The children are free to voice their opinions. A botanist friend of Aunt Ifeoma's has developed a purple variety of hibiscus different from the common red one, and it thrives in Ifeoma's garden. Now let's talk about why this novel is one of my favorite reads.
Speaking my mind.
This is the first novel about Nigerian life that I read. I found it fascinating. Majority of the non-Indian fiction that we read tends to be British or American, and the culture is vastly different from ours. Nigerian culture, as it is depicted in the Purple Hibiscus, is also different from the life we know in India, and yet similar in many respects. Jaja and Kambili call Ifeoma auntie, which I found very endearing. Water shortages, park carts, street markets, hawkers selling fruits and vegetables, these are all things we can identify with, material things. The conflict between colonial influence and traditional culture is another thing that is common to Nigeria and India. Kambili and Jaja are brought up in a very British, upper class kind of atmosphere, completely cut off from their African roots, going to a polished missionary school, eating Western food, speaking in English with their father. When they stay with Auntie Ifeoma for the first time, they're exposed to their traditional culture. They hear Igbo songs and folk tales that they've never heard before. I was really struck by the feeling of how important it is to be connected to our roots because our traditional civilizational roots go way deeper than the influence of a few hundred years of colonialism. And by how much joy there is in embracing, celebrating our true identity. The writing of Chimamanda Adichie is full of life. The language is simple, but the descriptions are vivid and vibrant. It really sounds like the voice of a 15-year-old girl. It's hard to believe that this was Chimamanda's debut novel. She was only 25 and attending college in the US when she wrote this book. But the writing is mature and there's a natural flow to it that gets you emotionally involved in the story. When the surprises and punches in the story hit, you can feel them because you're not really expecting them. It's not an easy book to read. It's the story of a family terrorized by a tyrannical father, narrated by a teenager who lives in the lap of luxury but doesn't have the luxury of laughter or true freedom. This is a very well written book. The descriptions, the characters, the plot, all are perfectly done. They make you feel invested in Kambili and Jaja's life. It is also a thought-provoking book. There's a deeper message about what is actually necessary to be happy. There's no preaching involved in the delivery of that message, but as you read it, the book makes you think about those things. There are many other important themes that come forward in the book, like domestic violence and the mental conditioning that allows the abuser to keep abusing and the victims to rationalize the abuse in their own mind. The importance of female camaraderie. When Kambili is finally able to honestly speak to her cousin Amaka about what the atmosphere at home is really like, she finally gets the kind of emotional support that she needs. The way Auntie Ifeoma encourages Kambili to stand up and speak for herself. You might wonder about the title The Purple Hibiscus. That is symbolism at work. The Achikes live in a mansion with a luxuriant garden filled with red hibiscus. Auntie Ifeoma lives in a tiny ground floor flat where she grows a rare purple hibiscus in her small patch of garden. The Achikes live oppressed lives in luxury, while Ifeoma and her children live freely with little in the way of luxury. When Jaja brings cuttings of the purple hibiscus to their mansion, it's the beginning of his rebellion and of change coming to the Achike household. The purple hibiscus represents change, growth, and freedom. Now let's find out the LINEDSCAPE rating of today's book.
LINEDSCAPE Rating.
LINEDSCAPE is an acronym for the 10-factor book rating system that I have devised. You can find a link up there or in the description to a video that explains how it works. You can check that out. All the parameters are a 9 or a 10. That gives us a total score of 93 on 100, which translates into 5 stars. And now here is today's bonus section. This little 66-page long or short book is today's bonus read. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is a strong, independent woman who defies stereotyping of any kind. When one of her friends had a baby girl, she asked Chimamanda to advise her on how to bring up her daughter as a feminist. This book, titled Dear Ejiavele, was originally written as an email by Chimamanda to her friend. She later expanded it into a short book. In it, she has given 15 suggestions or a feminist manifesto on how to raise your daughter to be a strong, independent woman. The thing is, this is a book that everyone should read, whether you have a daughter or not. Honestly, most of the suggestions are about being a complete, happy individual and would serve everyone well. It highlights things that should be common sense and yet they're not. For example, the eighth suggestion is to reject likability. Remember the typical filmy, what will people say dialogue? That is the mentality that she's asking us to reject. She reminds us that it is important to be kind to others, but just as important to be brave and honest with yourself. We shouldn't bend over backwards just so that this unknown entity of people will like us more. Today's quote is from this bonus book rather than the Purple Hibiscus.
Quote unquote.
We usually use the word non-judgmental in a desirable way, but Chimamanda has a very interesting perspective about it. She says, and I quote, non-judgmental can easily devolve into meaning don't have an opinion about anything or I keep my opinions to myself. And so, instead of that, what I hope for Chizalam, that's the friend's daughter, is this, that she will be full of opinions and that her opinions will come from an informed, humane and broad-minded place. I really like her way of looking at having an opinion of your own. And now it's time to put my thoughts.
In a nutshell.
The Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is one of the most realistic and down-to-earth fiction novels that I have read. Not only is it engrossing, but it is also thought-provoking. The glimpses into Nigerian culture and life are interesting. I was intrigued by the similarities that I saw between Nigeria and India, including the colonial influences on both countries. The bonus read I talked about, Dear Ijavale, is a short but worthwhile read. It focuses on how to raise your daughters to be strong, independent women, feminists, but it is full of practical suggestions for anyone, man or woman, on how to conduct yourself in today's world. In general, if more people were to read this book, I believe it would lead to better understanding between men and women. So I wholeheartedly recommend that you read both of these books. Before I go, remember, I upload a fresh episode every week. If you liked this episode, please give me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell icon so you never miss an episode. And please share with your friends and family. The more, the merrier. I would also love to know if you've read either or both of these books. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. This is Asavri signing off for now, and until the next time, have fun under the reading lamp. Switch on, read on.